everybody, and welcome to e-commerce quick fix cross-border magazine official podcast. Today is a happy day. It's an amazing day because we have the amazing opportunity of being with Lina Gallager, the e-commerce queen of the Middle East. Lina, how are you? How's everything?
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me. It's great to know it's Q4. We are recording a podcast in November when the world is going mad, for discounts. So, ready for the interesting conversation.
Yes, we are just a few days away from the celebrated date of Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
So I guess you are with your hands full, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty busy. I'm not going to lie, and Middle East is one of those regions where we love discount 365 days. Okay. But during Black Friday month in November, we call it here White Friday. We call it Yellow Friday. Black Friday is not very commonly used, but
Is there any cultural reason for that?
no, it's just that black is also, I think, associated with sadness. And, a couple of retailers, maybe 20, 30 years ago, actually said, why should we do black? Why can we not be White Friday and a Happy Friday? And
That sounds good. Actually, we could implement that here because actually black is also used for grieving.
yeah,
Is a
exactly, that's
kind of
the
color
reason.
for. Yeah.
So if you are locally based retailer, it depends. There are some retailers that logo was yellow, like noon. So they started, Yellow Friday. Basically, we kind of culturally moved away from Black Friday as a concept, like as a name. Unless you are international brand, you get the assets from your Western
Yeah.
parties. So, and you don't want to reshoot everything in the Middle East, then, we're still using it. So in the Middle East, let's say UAE, Saudi, you will see Black Friday, White Friday, Yellow Friday, Green Friday, Red Friday,
all the
so
Fridays in the
all the
rainbow.
Fridays possible. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, Lina, first of all, let's start from the very beginning. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you rightfully called the e-commerce queen of the Middle East? So our audience can actually know who you are and which one is your expertise.
So first of all, I did not give myself a name of queen. I think it's just people, from all over the world, kind of like. But let's start from the start. I run a consultancy business called Emerce Consulting. What do we do? So I'm the founder of it, and we do three things. We help big retailers, distributors, and brands to embrace digital journey. What does that mean? We take care of everything: technology, operations, marketing, hiring the team. So sort of one-stop shop for the large enterprises to start their digital journey. I take the complete P&L accountability. So you can imagine the C-level executives do like working with us because it's not that there is a risk. There is someone even though it's called consulting, I don't just consult. I actually take accountability for the P&L that I propose. Secondly, we work with a lot of medium enterprises where they, let's say, need super senior teams, but they cannot, not necessarily afford, but there is no need for full-time resources of chief digital officer, chief marketing officer, chief technology officer. If you are medium sort of size business, like 60 stores, 40 stores, so we provide retainer services where we are, let's say, the brains, and the retailer or distributor or a brand or a startup in some senses can just hire the junior teams. So this is very, very positive for them when it comes to the bottom line. So we could be aiming for growth, but at the same time, let's say profitability and break even is a lot closer because the cost of staff is just cheaper. Okay. So
Yeah,
my
the
team,
operational cost of a
yes,
staff.
exactly. So my team, kind of fits that gap. And finally, Immerse Consultancy is, I wouldn't like to say we have fun, but we take sweat equity into the startups that not necessarily can afford our consultancy services. And even if I joke with startup owners, even if I give them the discount on my normal consulting rates, they still should not be paying me for consulting, right? They should be investing that money into marketing and buying the products and etc. So in those
Well,
instances,
that's a pretty honest approach,
yes, it's a
because at
very
the end of the
honest
day,
approach,
yeah.
and I say if I believe in the founder, if I believe in the idea, I would provide, I would take sweat equity, And sometimes I would provide the money, but most of the time it's sweat equity. And in exchange, I would give them the team, the marketing, so they can kind of start, let's say, digital business without the team on the ground, and then the founder can focus just on the product itself. So three distinct areas. On top of that, I have, it's just coincidental that I was showing someone. I am a published author on
Wow.
winning in the platform economy, basically how to succeed in e-commerce in the Middle East book. It's me and Alexander Graf. So for your Western audience, they will know, the founder of Spriker. So we have a book together on what do you need to do in this region. Okay,
Hmm.
whether you like the book, you don't. It's the only book. So if you're trying to enter the region, drop me a message. I will send you a copy. No need to
It's the
rush.
e-commerce Bible for the
It is
region.
e-commerce Bible for
Where
the
can we
region.
find that book so we can add the link
On
to the show?
Amazon.com. Yes, on
Okay, we're gonna add
Amazon.com.
the link so everybody that is listening or watching the podcast can find the link in the description of the video. Okay, so they can
Totally.
go
And then
directly there.
finally, I have an e-commerce academy called Ecom Wave, and this is all kind of for built for the startups that kind of comes from the same like the same thinking is I don't want to charge them the retainers I charge, the retailers and maybe the brands that can afford me. So I kind of run 6 weeks training courses, and if you turn up to my course, you would pretty much can start e-commerce business yourself. So really trying to cover it from the large guys where the revenue, it's in millions, to the medium where maybe revenue is kind of like in a seven figure, and then startups where we are just in a six figures sort of revenue, and some of them are not even six figures, right? Like we might be
Yeah,
starting on $1,000 a month. So yeah, but all e-commerce,
all
predominantly
angles.
focusing on the Middle East.
Well, that's amazing, Lena. That's amazing. And precisely due to your expertise, that will be our first question. Which one do you think will be like the main three things any brand from the from the European Union or from America needs to know before jumping into the Middle Eastern market? And what do we call the Middle East market? Because many times you hear here in, especially in Europe, they call the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa. Is this accurate? Is this the right way to bundle together all those economies, or those economies are actually different in itself?
Okay, so first of all, absolutely, they're very, very different. Okay, when people say it, Mina, imagine saying European Union. In European
Yeah,
Union, we don't even speak the same language. It's the
that's it.
same in Mina. They have different dialects. Okay, it is Arabic, but the dialect is very different. The cultural habits are very different. The way they
The
dress is
purchasing
very,
power isn't.
yeah, very different. So when the brand comes and says, you know what, most of the time maybe I would, and maybe this is my experience, so not for everyone. Everyone reads, the Western press, Bloomberg News, Financial Times, and thinks Dubai. Dubai is
Dubai.
not
Yeah.
Middle East, okay? Dubai is very multicultural society. Dubai, actually, the locals is super, super minority. We have every nationality possible here. Majority here is after Arabs, outside of like UAE Arabs, we have Lebanese, we have Egyptians, we have Arabs from like Oman, Bahrain. Outside of Arabs as a nation, we have a very big Indian society. We have very big Filipino and Pakistani. So Dubai is not what Middle East is. Okay. So whenever you think about setting the business in Dubai, it does not mean that you will succeed in Saudi Arabia. Okay. It does
Exactly.
not even
Exactly.
mean you will succeed in Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the United Arab Emirates. Okay. So just to come back to the your question around the Middle East, North Africa is at the moment what you would call developing. They're moving super
Yes.
fast. Things are changing super fast. And they're going through the change what Europe was going, I don't know, pre e-com world. Like they're building roads to make sure one day delivery is possible. They're working with local shops to offer quick commerce from like a post office. They're understanding local dynamics, and they are acknowledging that e-commerce requires infrastructure. So
Yes.
North Africa is going through building that infrastructure, and the society is super entrepreneurial. So I call it hustling, and they find the way. They find the way to fulfill the order from their auntie's, apartment. I have, client in Egypt. We are fulfilling 12,000 orders
Wow.
a day from local hubs, which we called on the phone, on the WhatsApp, and all
Wow.
of it is coordinated. Now, for the European listener, that sounds, first of all, you will think, oh my God, the cost must be huge of it. Well, not really, because that is the benefit of developing countries, right? So I don't have to worry about pickers, delivery drivers, high salaries. I can actually manually make it work. Is that sustainable? It's not. But we will reach the maturity in a couple of years' time. Now, outside of North Africa, we have GCC, which is the Gulf countries. This is what
Hmm.
you would probably read in the Western media about the money and the
Yes.
wealth and the tax free. And
That's the European perception of the rich Arabs.
exactly,
Though it's from that region, isn't it?
it's exactly what the assumption is. But that's not the case. UAE and Saudi are very different to Kuwait, very different to Qatar, very different Bahrain and Oman. Okay. So I
Hmm.
cannot, we can write a whole podcast just about the differences. But I really encourage listeners to read it differently. There are two things I would highlight, and we will come to actually retail differences. But UAE is very multicultural. Saudi, predominantly local population, and a local population that is going through huge change. Females are starting to drive. We are starting to see double income in the family. The shopping habits are still very traditional. We're not looking for, let's say, certain, I don't want to mention the certain brands, but we're not looking for in Saudi for the Western brands as we would assume they would want. Okay. We are
Hmm.
still going through change in Saudi. That is a society that in a 2030, as they have a vision, will probably catch up in some ways with the UAE, United Arab Emirates, but at the moment they're not there yet. So if you entering Saudi, it's scale. But to tap into that scale, you must understand Saudi consumer. You cannot target your product for, like blonde Lina, like a European. It's not. You're not gonna
It's not
succeed.
that.
It's not gonna work. Now coming to the country that I sit and live for the last 12 years, United Arab Emirates. It's honestly the country which doesn't talk but actually do. Things get here executed in seconds. Speed of change is incredible, and it's all to do with the leadership that they have. So as you can imagine, we don't talk AI, we don't talk e-commerce. They do. They make a rule, and tomorrow that rule is in action. That's, I guess, the benefit of
Wow.
the benefit of non-democracy. Of course, like we as democracy, we understand that there are a lot of cons of that concept, but that's not the podcast all about. So, but the speed these guys are moving is incredible. It's super
So
safe.
we could say safely that we are dealing with different levels of digital maturity and logistics maturity
Correct,
all across the whole region.
correct, correct.
And it is wise, Lina, if we have those differences to actually bundle together everything in the same plan, in the same expansion
No,
plan, or this is a mistake.
this is a mistake. So
Which
now,
one will
how
be
do
the
you?
regions that you will subdivide this then?
Yeah. So now, coming to the retail, if you enter the region, UAE is the easiest to
Okay.
relate to your Western, maybe assortment, to your Western way of doing business. It's the easiest way to find talent. Okay, UAE. But you are not the only one. Middle East, there is a name for it. East meets West. So remember, your competition here is not another British or French brand. Your competition here
Is the
is a
East.
player from India that is
Yes.
doing already 100x of what you are doing in France or Spain, Germany, or whatever. So you might think you are, oh, I'm competing with Zara. Well, most likely you're not competing with Zara. You're competing with Zara multiplied by 100, from
Yes.
India. Okay. That's one. So you need to really understand like competitive landscape because it's not the same. You might say to me, "Oh, do I need to come here and visit all the malls?" If you can afford it, please do. But we are online. You can go on our marketplaces like Noon, like Sixth Street, like Namshi. If you're in fashion, you will see everything. We have every single brand possible. You don't need to fly here to do analysis. Number two, if you're a grocer, we have the highest quick commerce probably penetration globally. Like every brand here is online. It's on Carrefour. It's on Deliveroo. It's on Talabat. So do your homework. You can download all those apps, whether you're sitting in the UK, Germany, or France. You know what I mean? You could do the homework without coming here and physically visiting.
Hmm.
So you really need to understand competitors from the east side because you might be familiar with your western competitors, but you're definitely not we have everything here. We have all the brands from the east and all the brands from the west.
We could easily say that that's the crossroads of the world.
Correct, correct,
Everything crosses there. Yeah, well, it's always been like that. That precisely Jerusalem is one of the biggest crossroads ever in the
correct,
history of mankind. So it still remains that way.
correct.
What you're saying is really interesting, Lina, because it happens a lot with the people that we have here in Europe, especially business owners that are planning to expand into the Middle East, that they actually believe they're going to be fighting against the major global titans of the West. But they don't realize that there are companies that are equivalents in India and China, and probably due to a sheer number of volume, those companies are even bigger than the ones that they are used to fight in the Western world. So what do you think will be like the best place for them to do a quick research and kind of realizing the falling into the reality of the Middle East? Which one will be the tools that you will recommend them before expanding to do a research and see the market opportunities for them in the region?
Okay, so number one, check all the marketplaces that we have. We have a marketplace for everything from
Wow.
like fashion, so Sixth Street, Noon. We have marketplaces like Amazon, right? So Amazon UAE version of Amazon. Noon is a copy of, well, not a copy, but local version of Amazon, right? So like in this, then we have a big grocery players that have huge marketplace additions. So like Carrefour, Sharp DG is for electronics. We have local furniture companies like any landmark group, which is you would say home center. It's in humongous, like it's
Wow.
completely like 10x of IKEA, you know, it's on furniture, and it's a Indian let's say based well, Indian retailer. We have Lulu that just IPO'd, and it was like the biggest IPO in like sort of this year. So we have like retailers. All those retailers are listed on them on, let's say, online. If you just do a simple search and use ChatGPT and say give me 10 retailers. But when you check the retailer's website, check their marketplace offering, because you will start
Okay.
seeing it that there are a lot of other smaller players listing as a marketplace owner. If you are smaller brand, like let's say in skincare, more specialized, right? Skincare, beauty, we have um, we have companies called Secret Skin, which is all specializes in like organic and all of it. We have company called Unas, which is kind of like luxury plus premium beauty. Okay, we have
Hmm.
very strong Amazon beauty section here, which is local like listed. You will find all the players on these big marketplaces. If you are a grocer of FMCG player, we have Deliveroo, Talabat, Carrefour. You can really, really see it. And obviously Amazon on a Amazon FBA type of fulfillment methods. Okay. So you can definitely do research from from your bed online.
Yeah, so you don't fall there, out of the sky. You actually
No.
know what you're doing. Now, which ones would you think will be like the most common pitfalls besides this one that companies from Europe and from the United States usually incur when they are trying to expand into the Middle East?
Okay. Assumption, the first biggest pitfall, assumption that we have GDPR at the level of EU.
You don't.
We don't. Now judge me, don't judge me. I started e-commerce journey 18 years ago, way before GDPR was even a concept. So, not to say that we do something illegal, it's all legal, but we don't have the GDPR compliance, okay? So what does that
That
mean?
opens a lot of possibilities, isn't it?
Correct. So the retention, the struggles that you have on retention in the Western world is not the struggles you should assume you will have it here. Okay? No one actually here minds you sending any email. No one actually here cares, about uh, like you sending 5 WhatsApps. What everyone cares is you not segmenting. In the Western world, we are very, very patient. And I used to be very patient. In the Middle East, we are not patient at all. We want everything now. Do you know that we can get a designer handbag? I'm talking luxury designers like Hermes, Chanel, Dior. We can get a handbag delivered to your house in 2 hours.
Wow.
2 hours.
It's
So
like it's almost close to Burger King delivery times here, in
exactly.
Madrid. Wow, that's amazing.
So imagine, the patience we have. If we are buying luxury goods for like $20,000 or Cartier bracelets for $10,000 and we're getting delivered in 2 hours, now
Wow.
just imagine if you, as a fast fashion, a grocer, like if you were like, oh, it's 3 days. People are like, what? So what we don't like here, like we don't mind you sending us stuff. But what we mind is that if service is not at par of what local players are doing it. Okay.
Wow.
So the Western brands, kind of put the energy a lot on like preventing GDPR compliance, well, actually misses the key point. This is not about GDPR. This is about giving the service that the consumers who live, like I'm not from here, right? I'm actually Lithuanian, and like I could tell you in Lithuania, I would never expect someone even deliver me the same hour. I'd be like, I'm fine. I'll wait 3 days. You just deliver, like I even if I just pay a couple of euros for delivery, I'm like, oh, it's fine, like I don't need to go to the shop and park. Well, here
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
the
want
same
the
thing
free
here in
delivery.
Spain.
I want
It's just
delivery now. I want to be perfect quality. I want
wow.
customer service respond to me within 5 minutes of me messaging. So local service is really high standard. So put your emphasis on the service and worry less about some great, technology, spending millions on. Believe me, if you have great service, even Shopify website will do. Okay?
That will be enough.
That's enough. Okay, like so, but why would the big retailers will kind of say, okay, I cannot do a Shopify? Because to provide the service, you need the integration between the stock or the management. You need to put, because imagine to deliver in 2 hours. Well, you cannot spend. Sorry, I will call you about the order that someone placed on Shopify to the warehouse. It has to be all streamlined. So emphasis needs to go on service rather than maybe crazy regulation. Now, just a final point on regulation so everyone understands. If you don't have customers' consent, we ask, like you cannot take techniques at stealing someone's data. The fines here, 100x of GDPR fines. Okay, here there is no black or white. This is like you didn't follow. Kind of. Oh my god, I didn't know. There is no. I don't know. There is government institutions. Go and find out. You need to inform the customer that they need to be a subscriber to receive your emails, right? But you can, kind of, it's kind of lack on one side, but you need to have a very transparent approach. Are you okay to get the WhatsApp? Yes. Okay, get the WhatsApp. Okay. Now the next thing, and maybe you will ask is that, so definitely service is a big difference compared to the Western world. The another pitfall, coming to it is a assumption of that CRM, like emails don't work. No one reads emails. No one. In the Middle East, you can make 20% of revenue from emails. Okay.
Only from emails.
Yes. So
Wow.
if you send boring emails, fair point, no one will read it. But we are actually quite engaged audience. If you look at any stats, like we're number one in the world on YouTube consumption. We're number two, I think, on Instagram use. We're number one on Snapchat. We are growing fast, on TikTok. Email is not exception. We do read it. We are kind of like consumers a lot more. They don't find it annoying. They're more like, I am interested because information is not easily, let's say, here available. Like it's not really like you would not know that there is a concert. Like how, I don't know where you live, but in London, I spend all my life in London. So in London, I get on the tube and all the walls will be like Madonna is playing in O2
Yeah,
Arena tomorrow. Here is not so, like there's a lot of information. It's a small sort of country. So it's not like you will see all these banners of like Madonna over it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah.
information, kind of. So we as a consumers are used to reading the emails, used to subscribing to
The
information.
sources, we could
You know,
say that the sources of information are different. No,
yes,
it's not
exactly.
like it's not like this. For example, in Madrid, like where we are headquartered, you can see everything on the streets, just like London, and
Correct.
I guess in the Middle East you have to go to search via social media and stuff. But there's also something interesting, Lina. People have the perception that the people in the Middle East and are very people and social minded people. It's a very social minded culture. Maybe in Germany, you cannot approach someone out of the blue in the middle of a street and offer him a deal because he's gonna send you, he's gonna send you back home
Yeah.
immediately. They are not so used to that. In the Middle East, the approach is different. People is used to trading, is used to making businesses, and it is used to talking to other people. Are very social. Do you think brands should keep this in mind when they are planning their marketing campaigns there? I mean, I guess yes, because you're already saying that. But what would they do? I mean, what should they do? How could you plan a campaign for the Middle East?
So coming from the emails, and so it leads your question leads very nicely to my next point. WhatsApp here is number one thing you
It's a
set
huge thing.
you set up and not some WhatsApp, like Lena and Frank will WhatsApp to each other. Everything here,
Wow.
everything from business to deals to sending personal like passport photos,
Wow.
everything is on WhatsApp. So if you are e-commerce business, you must have a, como like Clavio you would have for the emails. There are a lot of platforms that you have for the WhatsApp, kind of segmentation, sending the messages. So, one of my clients, I could just show you like just an example, for anyone that is, let's say, watching, and every brand is doing it, okay? But I don't want to show any other brand, just in case, I will show from my client because I have a permission to show it. So you
Okay.
see, this is their like drink dry store. It's their
Okay.
official WhatsApp. You see, it's not
Okay.
just the
Yes. Yes.
WhatsApp. Hello, Lina. These are the WhatsApps. So for example, like it includes like see here, it has like a video in the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like a channel. It's
it's
like a
a
sales
whole
channel.
message, like complete like message.
Wow.
Okay, with a clear call to action.
Wow.
Guess what? Readability of these WhatsApps. And I consult 25 clients each month, and every single client has a WhatsApp. Readability of these messages is over 85%.
Wow. That's massive. I mean,
That
that's
is
not normal.
massive.
That's huge.
So you might say to me, does that mean I WhatsApp the whole database every single day? No. Meta has very strong restrictions. The message has to be pre-approved. You have to use certain template. You need to segment. But if you have a strong CRM team, which understands CRM principles of segmentation, customer behavior, like category shoppers, value shoppers, VIPs, about to drop, like the whole, nothing changes what was 10, 5, 20 years ago. We still segment, the customers. Like remember of the catalogs. You're not gonna
Hmm.
drop catalogs on the street where people cannot drive into your shop. Do you know what I mean? Like so it's the same here. You are segmenting it. You are segmenting it like properly. But if you put the effort in it, the results as incredible. And
Wow.
so a lot of Western brands, like, and I've worked with like, a couple of French brands that I brought them to the region, and and some of the,
Could you share some examples of that, like some success stories that you can tell us?
yeah. So for example, most of the time, imagine we can have like large. We're talking large organizations, okay, like venture backed and all. And then what happens? They don't even have a WhatsApp channel. So for them, they're like,
Wow.
why would we need such like our CRM team, Lina, sits in Paris. Like we don't do A, B, and C, And I'm like, okay, let me take care of it. And they don't, let's say, like think this is gonna work. The assumption is that oh, let Lina do whatever she thinks it's gonna work. And then imagine, like we started with most of my brands, like sort of Black Friday month for every Friday this month. Last Friday, out of 25, 20 clients of mine, 20 beat it monthly target of the
Wow.
whole e-commerce revenue by 10%. Like, so they have a WhatsApp target for the whole month, okay? Their daily target was up by 10% and a monthly target in one day from a WhatsApp.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So imagine if your monthly target for WhatsApp would be, just for the maths reasons, half $100,000 revenue. You made over $100,000 in one day just from the WhatsApp. But
It's
what does it
incredible
mean?
that.
You prepared, you segmented, you said, okay, I'm going to send maybe like seven same messages, but to different segments. They are going to be category A, category B. Maybe they are the one time purchases. Maybe these guys are zero time purchases. What message should I send to the people that have never shopped online? Like really, really preparation. But no complaints, no unsubscribers, no, like so positive, so,
Wow.
so positive.
So, but overall, this kind of channels, it's what you're telling me. It's absolutely unknown here in Europe. I mean, we don't
Yeah,
know. But I mean, I know in Latin America it's been used because, well, WhatsApp is also a big thing in Mexico. But I don't think they got the same
no,
percentage of results like the one you
no.
got there. I mean, that's huge. That's massive. We were recently reviewing a white paper here in Europe talking about e-commerce sale through email, and I think the percentages were like 13%, and that was like wow, like ooh, wow, amazing. But 85%, it's it's unbelievable. Now we know that there are different maturity levels, and we understand that there are different necessities and customer expectations, we could say, regarding service. Do you think that brands need to localize everything to the different languages and different variations, of the same Arabic for the region? Because some of the American brands, when they come to Europe, they say like, oh, well, put everything in English and that's it. Let them figure it out. Is that's not going to work there in the Middle East, isn't it?
So again, coming to the, so if you're gonna enter, like, I will answer your question, but just give me a bit of intro. I will give intro. Your intentions, why you wanna succeed in the Middle East. You should have a vision of absolutely killing it in Asia. So your plan, if I would be a brand saying my 10-year plan is to set the store in Delhi, okay, India.
Okay.
I cannot go from London, selling in Oxford Street to Delhi tomorrow because I will fail. Like look at
Miserably, yeah.
Tesco, like they tried to enter America, English speaking, and they still failed. Okay. So entering Indian, like let's say Malaysian markets, anything like China, it's hard work. Middle East is a perfect midway stop. Okay. So, but if your vision is to conquer United Arab Emirates, you will never make the money that you have in your head. Never. Because
Okay.
the competition is severe, or consumers constantly changing. Remember, we are not immigrants here, we are expats. So that means some of us stay 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, but you cannot get the passport here. So whenever your pension, you still leave. You still leave. Now, things might change, like I live here 12 years, and, as I said, the change is like I can barely catch up with it, while living in a country. So I'm not saying, but as of now, consumers are changing. So that means every year we have new brands, new dynamics, new consumer behavior.
Hmm.
So just by saying I killed it in the UAE is not enough. So you need to go UAE, Saudi, and then Far East. Okay. Even if I, now coming to the point of localization, if you are entering United Arab Emirates, you can do everything in English. I will tell you what you cannot do, but
Okay.
language can be totally in English.
Even customer service.
Even customer service. The minute you have a vision to serve Saudi consumers, Saudi, it could be cross border from UAE into Saudi cross
Okay.
border. You must have a Arabic language. You must.
It's a
Otherwise,
must.
there is no point doing it. So some brands are using Google Translator. Some brands are using like cheap translation. Some brands are doing the website in English, but then says in on the website, like, if you want to support, if you want Arabic, just WhatsApp us. We will place you an order on your behalf. So there is a hustling way of coming across the language. But Saudi is a must to have Arabic. UAE not needed. Now, what is absolutely needed and what coming to localization and what brands make a mistake is assuming that the Western models in a like blonde hair gonna resonate with the local consumers here. Okay, it will not. The white population here is a minority. Europeans minority. Whether like you, even if I add every English, French, German, Spanish, even I bond them together and say Europeans, and we already know that they are very different shopping habits. But even if I say, let's assume they all have the same, it's still a minority.
Hmm.
So having like beautiful French Riviera background in a lifestyle photo with a French model
It's
will
not
maybe
gonna
will
work.
resonate with Lina, some French people, but it's not gonna give you scale. So if the question is, should I do something rather than nothing? Of course, use your French Riviera photos, of course. But you have to understand that you have to have the plan for local content. I can't stretch you enough how important is local photos, local influencers, local sort of like different variety of skin color models, different, so what we maybe in the Western world obsessed with being skinny, actually not everyone here thinks skinny is pretty. So if you don't acknowledge that here, a lot of assumption is that, oh, like females have to cover, maybe don't. You don't need to cover. It's not about this. Female here is really well respected. But what is very, very important here, they have incredible family values. Like
Okay.
how I would say, like, and my sister lives in London. Like if my sister needs to pay for her flat, well, okay, I probably will lend her money, lend, because maybe she needs money, but I would never give it. Here, the brothers and sisters, and I'm not talking just Arabs, like Indian population, Filipino Arabs from not just the Gulf but all over the world, Arabs, they would pay for their brothers, sisters, for their education. They would buy each other gifts. It's really, really still big family values. What does
Hmm.
that mean? That if you manage to catch one person, the word of mouth will go really quickly across the whole family. And they are very big families. So if you, as a Western brand, pushing French Riviera, the chances are that it's not going to resonate with anyone, not with Indian population, not with Filipino, not with Pakistani, not with Arabs.
It's not gonna work.
You really need to think, what's my local content strategy? Even the marketplaces you will place your goods, like let's say talking about pharmacies, there are certain nationality shopping in one pharmacy brand, another in another, and it's like you really need to acknowledge it, that content must be local. It could be in English, but it needs to have palm trees, desert, and a sea somewhere in your lifestyle
Something.
shop. And when you look at product description, it cannot say perfect for your winter, because we don't have a
Don't have
sort of
winter.
winter concept. I can't tell you how many brands make this mistake, and it's so
Wow.
simple.
Wow, that's amazing. Lina, we are close. You're a repertoire of knowledge. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you do know a lot about the e-commerce, and especially about e-commerce applied to the Middle East, which is something that is incredibly valuable. But we are close to the 40-minute mark, and we are closing the podcast. So I would like you to give me one last answer that is going to be the final advice, the final piece of advice of this episode. If you have to give the brands from Europe and the United States one first step to be successful in the Middle East, which one will that be?
um, Product, focus on why your product is unique, and just saying it's organic, it's not gonna cut it. Educate the consumer. Consumers here have a a lot higher spending power. Okay.
Hmm.
And what does that mean? We are willing to try a lot of things a lot faster than what the probably consumer would try in the Western world.
Which
But
is more careful with the
if you
spending.
talk complex language, and like you have the product that has all these like ingredients that no one even understands in the normal language, it's not gonna fly because competition is severe. So first of all, try to educate customer on what does these ingredients that your product have stand for. Why this material that you are pushing so much, what makes it so perfect that it doesn't crinkle? If you're selling children's toy, why is it important that they don't choke? Because you are serving to a multicultural society that does not have the same educations at school. What I believe, from Lithuanian school, I have a big team, from Egypt, and we sometimes laugh how they were taught biology this way and I was taught this way, and why I'm assuming A and they're assuming B. And we're both right. So that's the product education is key. Product positioning. Why are you wow is key. Do not assume just because you come from Madrid, London, or Paris, everyone will like be on their knees just because you're a European brand. And second advice, I know you asked one, but second advice, remember, Europe is super small. I know when
Yeah.
we live, and I lived all my life in Europe,
It feels big when we are
we
inside, but
feel
it is
we
small.
feel it's a big deal. Actually, it's just a dot on the map. And remember, we as European brands get protection from European Union. So a lot of the brands cannot enter because of all the rules and regulations and headaches and whatever. Over here, we don't have a European Union protection. So, what
Mhm.
does that mean? How do you stand out in a really, really massive crowd? Because Europe is small. And when you live here, you realize that like really easily. So, think big, think global. If you conquer Middle East, you conquer the world. It will be easier to make it big in America, in India, and everywhere else. But don't assume just because you're a European brand that everyone will be on their knees.